Good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here or staying here. It's been a tiring day, I know, so just bear with me, and I hope I can be as great as Hassa and Zahra. So today I'm sharing with you some reflections and some lessons that could be learned from a grassroots initiative called Mawana. This initiative has been it has started actually this year in January. I can't believe that it's been a year so far. So let me start. Perspectives and understandings of things and subjects usually are tied to the context. So what happens when you remove the subject or thing and isolate it from its context? So I'll let that linger in your minds for a little bit as I go in my presentation. Let me first tell you more about us. As we said, we are an initiative, a non-profit in Bahrain. We call ourselves Mawana. And for you who speak Arabic, Mawana is the Arabic word for ports. And as a ship, we go as a mobile platform from one location to another in the Bahraini coastline. In that, we try to have fun, as well as doing some experimental research in the urban scape of Bahrain. And we also try to uncover the Bahrain's coastline that has been going through some issues that I'll be mentioning for you. Let me first thank and give attribute to the team that has been working on Mawana, Sohaba Bakir, Abdullah Janahi, our co-founders, and myself as a co-director. And I would also like to mention and thank the featured artists and speakers who were with us in the first season. So today I'm going to take you throughout our journey, starting with the location, how we chose it, why we chose it, and then explaining a little bit about our first season and the exhibitions and talks that we did, moving to the publication and some reflections. So first of all, I know you have seen this kind of pictures a lot today, but because it is important to give some context and background about the topics that are happening in the modern world in the Gulf nowadays. I was born in 1990, and obviously I didn't live this culture of the sea. And just to give you a bit of context, many Bahrainis, as many other Gulf citizens, were very much used to be very attached to the sea culture, both morally and, most importantly, professionally. So this is Bab al-Bahrain, the landmark of Manama, which translates to Bahrain's Gate. This picture shows you how the sea was very connected and overlooking the gate in 1911. This is the same spot 30 years later, which shows a lot. And this is in 2013. Now, this is a zoom out of the area, and the red arrow here shows you the location of Bab al-Bahrain. And look all of this distance and look at where the sea is now. These pictures are shocking, and it's not just to reflect like the original outline of the sea and where it is now. It just shows you how disconnected Bahrainis are from the sea. So here is a diagram done by Batul al-Sheikh, one of our artists. Shows you the, let's say, the informal ports around Bahrain as an island. The red arrows here shows you the ports, and the big circles, shaded circles, shows you the, let's say, the formal ports of Bahrain in Sitra, Manama, and Muharraq. And this red dot here is the location that we chose for our first season, a village, a very modest village called Demistan. Now about Demistan, it is a village that is known for its sea culture, for its beach culture, more importantly, and for its agricultural nature. And for their friendliness. This kiosk that we found there really showed us and reflected how friendly these people were, and they were really happy and excited to help us throughout our exhibition. Let me tell you, most of them never been to an exhibition before, but they're very excited and loving, and they helped us a lot in the process. We couldn't resist choosing this place because it was so charming, and the sea view was so serene, and the horizon is not disrupted by skyscrapers and other greedy developments that we see usually around the hotspots of Bahrain. And this is a sketch done by Nasr al-Zayani, one of our artists as well. So this gave you a bit of introduction. Let me go into the subject and talk about the first season. Inaccessible. So let me tell you about the theme that led to this title. When we were searching and contemplating about the issues that are facing the Gulf, we saw that there are many public spaces that are inaccessible, not just in Bahrain, but also in modern cities. There was also this paradox about the publicly used space versus the privately owned space, which is the case in Dimistan village. So we wanted to reflect all of that and use the agency of art through artwork, through the spoken word, to really deeply express the inaccessibility that we felt in that site in particular. So how did we go about that? We wanted to study Dimistan Beach, study how it was formed, how it is sustaining, and most importantly, what's the secret of its resilience so far? Another objective was to decentralize art. As many of you who have been to Bahrain before, most of the cultural events and the cultural scene is happening in the museum area and diplomatic area, in Manama, and Adliya, and Muharraq. So why don't we try another kind of audience? So we wanted to deconceptualize these kind of events and bring them to a different audience and experience how will this change the public debate, and what can we have as a result of that, and what life-changing interventions can happen on this topic. So to guide you through the process that we used in Inaccessible, first of all, we had a series of majalis, which is the Arabic word for gathering discussions. So the majalis were mostly to conceptualize the season, and we wanted to deeply understand the subject and search about it. So we had many great intellectual speakers who gave us a deep insight on the concept of inaccessibility in general. It was very important to us to engage the local committee of the village, and I can't stress enough about the importance of that engagement. It facilitated a lot of things that I'll be mentioning later, and most importantly, they had the sense of ownership to the project, and that helped a lot. As for the artists, we were focusing on emerging artists in Bahrain, and we held a lot of meetings to check on the progress and to have a very coherent and cohesive kind of work that led one exhibition to another. And for our guest speakers, we focused on topics that were empowering the community. We wanted the event to be owned by the public and dedicated for the public. And the space that we designed, let me call it the platform, it was focusing on the reconfiguration ability of the site itself, so that each artist can reconfigure the boxes or the elements upon their own designs. So this is Dima Al-Ghanem, a Kuwaiti architect, who held the first majlis, and she was talking about important issues of the archive in Kuwait, and most importantly about access to knowledge and information This is our meeting with the local committee, the first official meeting. And there was a funny story. It's not really funny, but when we think about it, we wanted to have the event on a certain date, and we went to the committee, and they were like, no, you can't hold it on this date. And they were very polite with us, but eventually we found out that the actual date of the event happens in Ashura, which is a mourning period in the village and many areas in Bahrain. So it was basically a taboo to hold such cultural and festive kind of event in that area in that period of time. So with the help and insight of the committee, we had to reschedule, which granted us the locals to actually come and attend our event and not treat us as strangers. This might be my favorite majlis of all. It was the day when we had Dr. Pascal Monero, who teaches in NYU in Abu Dhabi. So he came, he visited Bahrain with his class. You can see that it's a full house. His class of Middle Eastern study students. And we held like a majlis to reflect upon the season that we are going to do. And we had artists to deliver their work for the first time and receive critiques from the audience that had nothing to do with art, let me tell you. But it was very insightful, and we were able to create a very cohesive content after that meeting. So this is the pavilion design done by Abdallah Janahi, and it says a group of boxes that look very contrast to the site. You can see that the site is very natural, very organic. So these white boxes are contrasting. At the same time, it gives them the focality that we wanted in the exhibition. We wanted to have a very strong kind of exhibition. So let me just touch base upon the talks and the exhibitions. The exhibitions were very interactive. And you can see that the children were the most attracted audience to these kind of exhibitions. And the talks were also dedicated to the public. So we chose the topics that really touches the community, such as documenting and preserving heritage and many sustainable design projects. And this is Zahra Ali Baba. She was a guest speaking at our event, and you can see that we use the spaces that already existing in the site without touching them, and it gave us a really authentic kind of sense. So all of this needed documentation, hence the book came to the picture. First of all, we wanted contributors to be artists and speakers to elaborate more on their work, but then guess what? Even the attendees wanted to contribute, and we couldn't say no for that, because their insight of the event gave us a variety of topics that went above and beyond the topics that we already placed for the book. So the launch will be in 2016, and it will be a surprise. I was trying to tell you the news, but let's just keep the surprise. So this is what summarizes all of this. What we learned from Mawana was that having this kind of interaction along the coastline had us really immerse in the location, and we learned a lot from the location. We learned that even though there are some issues in the privatizing lands and depriving people from the sea, as per se, but it didn't stop people from connecting to the sea and connected to their roots. Also, we used the beach as a public space, and we used the public space as a place to exchange knowledge and exchange art and ideas. And I would like to state that we reversed the approach by doing it the grassroots way. Usually artists and architects having the top-to-bottom approach, where they dictate their ideas, they dictate how things are outlined, but we reversed it. We went to the community and saw what do they need and how do they want their ideas to be expressed. And another example for reversing the approach, we wanted to give them access to what we were doing. So, of course, most of the events were held in English. So we wanted to break that barrier, and we held on-spot translation, and that granted us, like you can see the group over there, the group of the locals who came only because it was translated to Arabic, and the translation was done by yours truly. And the last lesson or reflection that I would like to share with you is the process of creating opportunities for debate created that kind of reflection and interaction. I don't think that Demistan villagers see their village in the same way before we came, because it gave them a chance to interact, to know the attributes, the positive side of their village, and to move away from the negative vibes that surround the area and surround their lives. I'd like to seize this opportunity to call you to join the team, be a sponsor, be a contributor, follow us on the social media, because there are a lot of details that I haven't mentioned because of time. So please go to the website, take your phones and take a photo. We want you to see more about the talks, more about the exhibitions. They were really amazing. So in our journey for looking for a meaning in inaccessibility and in Demistan's village and in the Bahrain coastline overall, I cannot but end with the quote or a wisdom by Plato saying that human is a creature looking for a meaning. الإنسان مخلوق يبحث عن معنى. Thank you.